All right, so a couple of things came through my inbox the last couple of days. First off, there's this why we built an open source testing framework, which is we're going to get into a testing module in a couple of weeks. This is one of my favorite things. If you look at, well, when we get into the testing modules, we'll get into this a little bit more. But there's a big difference between blindly grabbing some code from an open source repository and running it and trying to run it and trying to install it, and you end up with hundreds of errors and you don't know whether they're your errors or the project doesn't work or what's going on, and having a testing framework associated with the project so you know what works and you can test it afterwards and see where there's problems, where there's not. So this was a really cool, and I'll put these links someplace, but this is just opensource.com. They have a weekly, daily affirmation of different things in open source. And this is kind of a cool one. It's just a testing framework for testing their code. And you might say, why, out of all the hundreds of testing frameworks, would they write another one? But, just figure Darwinism, and everybody likes to have variety. But it's an interesting little read, something to check out. There's also, and I will post this as well, but there's also an article in Computer Science Education, Open Source Projects and Software Engineering Education, a mapping study. So I'll try to post this out as well. Maybe I'll put both of these in the chat. And then there was a final one that I thought was really kind of almost funny. Siren does online teaching, or does teaching, and they're jumping on the Log4j bandwagon, and talking about federal guidelines on security software. What they're trying to sell you is they're trying to sell you courses in security software. But there was a number of things here that I found kind of humorous or interesting. Basically, these are the priorities from the federal government, and they want to ramp up cybersecurity training for open source software developers. Now, I think that's a great idea, right? It'd be great to have everybody know security, but isn't an open source software developer anybody who wants to contribute to the open source software movement? So what are they're going to teach everybody? It just seemed kind of out of touch with what the software movement was. It would be better to teach people to do cybersecurity and not worry whether they're open source developers or not. And then this one I thought was funny as well, because they're going to do surge funding to existing projects to reduce the prevalence of hackable bugs in open source software. Now, studies have shown that open source software, rather than having a prevalence of security issues, has lower security issues, so that completely misses that point. But they're going to give money to the Open Source Security Foundation to make its software secure, which you would think would be the whole purpose for their existing. Anyway, I thought these three things were just a little bit humorous. Figured I would bring them up, or interesting, or something. Today we're going to do lab 3. I'm not going to talk a whole lot. I did kind of leave this in a little bit of a state because we went into our debate thing, which, by the way, you guys did really good. There were some points that I've not heard before, so I thought that was really interesting, kind of nice. What I did want to walk through just quickly, stop. Way past this. Yeah, so we just had some exercises. I just wanted to make sure that you guys see we have some references for Markdown. I think this is the second or third time we had references for Markdown. We have some examples. So this is Professor Morthy. His Markdown page, and if you want to come in, you can actually come in here. Well, if you clone it, you can actually come in and edit it. This is his, so you can't edit his page. And And there's restructured text as well. And what you'll find out is that it's pretty easy to start a wiki and use restructured text or Markdown to kind of maintain the wiki right from the GitHub repository. So yeah, so you can come in here, and this is what restructured text looks like. I didn't really put much in here because it wasn't intended to be a big showcase, but you can certainly, right there, come in and toggle between restructured text and Markdown and Creole and MediaWiki and whatever languages you want. So this is a really good way if you're going to be doing like a Q&A and you're not using a mailing list, which I assume most of you won't. You can set up and have a nice way to communicate with your with the people on your team or your users or whatever. A couple more tools that I thought was kind of interesting as well. If you're interested in just a really quick tutorial on HTML, right, there's a little tutorial here with some lessons. It's good to go through those. Make sure you understand how to do them. But this is just some nice walkdowns on setting up CSS and on doing HTML. These are basically the slides that we didn't get to yesterday, and I'm just kind of Tuesday, so I'm just kind of rushing through them, I think. And did we crash? Why is that there instead of this? There we go. Okay. And then this is a little CSS experiment. You can come in here, and basically it gives you some samples to do. We can go through and modify this style sheet and make it come up with different colors and different, so it just allows you to interact and gives you some practical experience in some of these documentation tools that we're talking about. Finally, we talked about some what you see, what you get editors for LaTeX. I hate overleaf, but not so much as just because they keep changing it and I can never find stuff. But there's a little example there that you guys should be free to go in and change stuff. Please keep it cordial. But basically this is just a LaTeX file, and this is a renderer, so you can render and edit and render your LaTeX file and change things. This to this, for example, and just see how all the sections work together. And it has examples of things that you may want to use. Like it has a frog picture. Not all pictures need to be frogs. That will work for any picture. It has a table in here. Tables are pretty important. So this sets up a table with some entries and headers. It gives you a little bit of mathematics. You're going to do some mathematics in your lab today. So it gives you a little bit of an example of mathematics. Right, so this equation is someplace here. Here we go. So between the dollars is the mathematics stuff, and then this is, right, there's the formula, the fractional formula. So let's see, what else did I have here? I don't know why it says I'm not a cat. There's another what you see is what you get editor for LaTeX. It's called AOPS.ops. The cool thing here, and this is the one you'll actually use in your lab. The cool thing here is you just write something and it'll render it. So I don't remember whether I need. Yep. I'll need the $sign to tell it's a formula. And then you can just say render, and it'll render it up. Okay, so these are just, like I said, these are just some tools you can go through. The final one that I want to get to is some of the literate programming stuff. Again, the cool thing about this is it's a really good way to maintain like a lab notebook. or to do tutorial material, or to document an algorithm that's difficult or interesting or complicated, because it allows you to put comments together with the actual code. And one of the new ways of doing this is using, new ways being in the last decade, is using the Jupyter Notebook. And the Jupyter Notebook looks something like this. This is a documentation of Peter Norvig's run through the advent of code in December 2016. So this is the first stuff he has. And then he has some tests and examples. And these are actually executable Python code. So if you download his Jupyter Notebook, you can actually execute this Jupyter Notebook using Python, using IPython, Python notebooks, Jupyter. So, this is kind of an interesting way to walk through. I did find some errors in it, probably because of the language marching on. But once you get to the point where you, like this, the error I found was that this has to be converted. I think that you need a .d code on the end of this, on all the read statements. He's reading the data in binary, and in order to actually execute it, you need a .d code. And I did it on the other machine, so I don't actually have it here to show you. But so kind of look at those. If you're doing a project that's kind of a tutorial or an exploration, that is a really good way to go. And then, of course, all of these, Quora, Reddit, Stack Overflow, all of these have their own guidelines for what you should use and how you should write things. So I know that was a quick run through of all the garbage that we kind of usurped with our debate yesterday, but I enjoyed the debate. And that's really what matters, right? All right, let's get on with the rest of our day. And that only took me 12 minutes. That would have taken me 35 minutes if I had actually done everything I was supposed to and walked through it correctly. All right, so this lab has two parts. And what we're going to do, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4 people on line. Can you guys coordinate again? I think we have the Discord channel. Let's see, no, that's the wrong class. Here's the Discord channel. And yes, Joey, I see you're here already, but yes, it will be. If you guys go back to the debate channel, and you, all 5 of, Jeremy Max, you're still here. Okay, good. If the 4 of you and Jeremy, can kind of go into the debate channel, and you guys can do your part of the, your discussions can be actually, do this too. We'll just call it the quarantine channel. No, you're welcome to stay there, Jeremy. So we have the quarantine channel. I think we'll leave this one, the debate channel. You guys can talk in that channel if you want, and I'll rename the debate channel the quarantine channel as well. All right, so you guys are my table 1. Yes?
I actually have a question about the projects.
Okay, cool.
Talking about them a lot. I guess I was wondering, what's the scope supposed to be, and would we be working on them by ourselves or in a group?
Okay, so let's do a little foray into the projects. You will know better what you're doing by the time we get there. I want you to keep in mind that you're going to have to do something. But this is kind of a parallel to an Arcos project, where it's exactly a parallel to an Arcos project. At one point, and I still kind of like this thought, the idea is that you guys will be here on one semester and come up with a project that you want to work on, and then in subsequent semesters you'll join Arcos and carry that project with you into Arcos. Okay, so it's like an Arcos project. The scope is hard to define. What we expect you to do is put in about 40 to 50 hours a week on it. That's not true. We do expect, a good amount of time. Think of it like working on a CS1 or a data structures project, right? You have one a week. Think about putting in about that amount of hours on it. But we're not grading you on what you achieve. We're grading you on the processes you use and your engagement with the community, which is a pain in the neck from my side. Okay, but what we'll ask you to do is we'll ask you to document your contributions by giving us lists of commits, wiki entries that you made, different community engagement that you did on the project. The scope of the project does not have to be such that it fits within. We'll start this about a third of the way through the semester. In about another week or two, we'll start thinking about projects. In fact, I think we'll start on our paper next week, and then we'll get to the project right after that. The scope of the project, you have to have something you're shooting for the end of the semester. Where do you want to be by the end of the semester? But the scope of the project can extend beyond the semester, hence bring it into the ARCOS thing. Okay? What we'll do is we have some projects on ARCOS that are running right now. We will ask those projects if they have room for other people, but you can at least look at those and see what the scope is, what they're doing. We also have some external mentors that have pitched projects from like IBM. There's an online gaming group that does D&D, dice, and things like that. There's an open energy dashboard, which is a project to allow open source code to monitor energy usage, which is kind of cool. So there are a lot of projects that are already out there. You can also choose to contribute to something like the Linux Foundation or any other project that's available, or you guys can get together as a group and groups of about 4, 5, or 6 and roll your own. Come up with something that you specifically want to do. Okay. We'll get into it a little bit more later. What we'll do is we'll have people with ideas in a couple weeks pitch those ideas, quick 30-second minute pitch. After we pitch, we'll let people talk to you a bit, and then we'll write a short proposal and we'll move from there. Okay?
Yeah.
And again, it's, think of it like doing a project for one of your programming classes, right? That amount of work is kind of what we're hoping you'll do during the week. Yes?
So if I wanted to create my own Linux distribution because I've wanted to for a while, would that be a little much?
It would be challenging.
Yeah, if I could at least just say I'll do half of, in this semester, and it's something I would like to do for myself anyway.
Yeah. You'd have to formulate a proposal that kind of lays out exactly what you want to do. But yeah, that would be a reasonable thing to do. Okay. But don't write the kernel from scratch, right? You're going to use a...
Yeah, it's just a distro.
Okay. Yeah, that would be interesting. We'll have to talk about that, because I have to figure out... It seems like a reasonable thing to do, but I would like to talk to you about it first. All right? Any other questions? If you notice, this first material that we've been going through has been kind of leading up to that. What we're asking you to do is to learn the principles behind forming an open source community, and then look at some open source communities. So that's we're kind of like baby stepping you in that direction, or actually kind of giant leapfrogging you into that direction, and I just realized I have a typo. That's probably been in there for one day. I put that in last night. Dang it. All right, so the first part of this is going through some documentation stuff. This is learning documentation. It's setting up a wiki. It's basically the last part of the lecture. You're doing some of that stuff. You don't have to be in groups here, but you may as well break up into groups now. The second part is going to be looking at a bunch of repositories that already list, a bunch of open source repositories that already live out there. Hopefully, as the note says, there are issues with ARCOS right now, with the ARCOS main website where I store or the old ARCOS main website where I store all of the old projects. It's not behaving well. So I think the best way to get there, and I have to figure this out again, the best way to get there is to open up Firefox and just shuffle on through that and get to past projects. Okay? IE is giving me problems and Chrome is giving me problems, but Firefox and Safari are still getting there, and I've got to figure out what the problem is. I think it's getting confused between, we now have two websites for Arcos, observatory.arcos.io, which is the old repository, or the old site where all of this old information is stored. The new one is arcos.io, and I think there's a certificate conflict between the two. But I will get that worked out at some point, but probably not today. So break up in the tables of 4 or 5 people, like, if you 4 wanted to be together, or if you wanted to join them, you could be 5, and kind of just pick a group. It's going to come into play in the second part of the lab, where you're going to look at projects past, about 5 projects, find their website, find their repository, clone them locally, and then look at them in terms of how many commits they have, what's going on. There's a whole bunch of questions we're asking you. And it's just a good way to show you some things you can look at for projects. And yeah. And doing it as a group means you can see more projects and you don't have to do all the work. So if you guys break up into groups, my online group, you guys are group 1. So you take 1 through 5. When you're ready, come up and talk to me, and I will tell you what group you are. Once you raise your hand, and I will tell you what group you are. It's going to be a 1-up counter. So on that past page that I have here, which is not being shared because it's a different screen. And that was not a COVID cough. That was I swallowed wrong because I'm talking too much, and I had a cough. Yeah, this page is, so the first group 1 online, you'll take organizer down to 990. Table 2 will take agency down to ALN NLP datasets, right? And so on. So you just come to me, tell me your, and if there's some overlap, we'll live with that. But just come to me and tell me your table. Other than that, feel free to get going. I think this is a fairly easy one, but where we want it going is in the direction of looking at sites, seeing what's useful, seeing what's not useful, and figuring out, figuring that out. Okay? So that when you launch your own project, or when you join a project, you launch or join one that you actually like. All right. Okay. You want to be with them or them? Okay. You guys are table 2. Okay, so you take the second 5 groups. Why don't you go with them? You guys are group 3. Okay, you 4. You 4 are group 4. Okay. Okay. These 2 tables, you're group 5. Okay. What's your number?
5.
Can't hear that.
5.
5. You take 20 through 25, I think.
21 to 25.
21 to 25. Thank you. See, he's a computer scientist.
On the computer in one ear out the other.
You 3. join them. And actually, can you join them? Right, so you guys will be group 6, right? Okay? Yeah. Okay? You guys be my group 7? Or no, you? No. Okay, sure. You 4 be my group 7. Okay? Now we'll see what happens with you guys. You guys are the best we have, probably. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
Oh, this is perfect.
Okay, so
Would you mind joining these guys? You guys are my group 8. Okay? And you guys would be my group 9. All right? Peter Lee, I've never seen you in person before. I guess yeah.
I did, if I
Thank
can.
you. So you 4 on my group. Jeremy is yeah. Sorry about that. So I just should have asked if you were here, but I didn't. Yeah, so we're going to walk around and we're going to help these guys out or sit around. Nice to meet you finally in person. Yeah. Good job. Oh, the other thing to know, thanks to a heroic effort by my TA in the corner. This is Peter Lee, by the way. Hi. This is Jeremy. He says hi too. Sorry. He's my TA. He's a mentor. And then we also have Yi Chen, who will hold office hours online immediately after the lab if you have them. He has class during this time, so he can't be here. But thanks to the 3 of them and a heroic effort, and I graded 2 labs. Your first 2 labs are all graded. Your grades should be released, I think. You should be able to see them, ask any questions. Let's get any misunderstandings out of the way now. And that way, as we move forward into actually more fun and more technical labs, you guys will all know what you're doing. All right, but thank these guys, because as of Monday, we didn't have any of them graded. As of Tuesday, we didn't have any of them graded. And as of last night, they were all graded. So, in fact, and just one more thing on office hours. My office hours, if I'm ever not in the room, ping me and I'll come in. But I think Peter's office hours are posted, right?
Same here, Wednesday 2 to 3.
Yeah. Your hours are posted and each end's hours are posted, but right now they have to be online because the registrar hasn't given me rooms yet. But we will get, that is a recurring theme in my life right now. You asking a question? Look, you're looking at me like I'm an idiot. You are. Look at now. Oh, just yeah. So you would be down at your 2. So 1 would be the first 4 or 5. Say the first 5.
Including these?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was part of it.
Scared me. I don't know.
Okay, so that exclamation and all the stuff out front, that was part of a competition to see who could get first,
Oh.
which completely destroyed any notion of alphabetical order and being able to search for what you wanted to find. Okay, but that's what that is.
We're like 6.
Oh, yeah, it says like if you have a shoe.
Yes, 6 through 10. Okay, but you only have to do, if there's 5 of you, do 5. If there's 4 of you, do 4. 5 is just a nice, easy place to break it. Okay, so one of you do, one of you look at each. Each of you take one of the projects. You all have to submit all of them, but each one of you only has to analyze one.
Yeah.
Okay?
Part 1 is not separately. It's just like
Question? Hey. Yes.
So like, I'm just, on part 1, I was trying to make a wiki page, but the only wiki you can make is not under labs, not on the repo itself.
Yes. It will be on the whole repo set.
Not on like the specific like labs section.
Right. It'll be on the entire repo.
Just checking.
That's okay. Excellent questions. You can also set up a web page right off of GitHub, and then you can manage the web the static web. It can't be, you know, but you can do that right off there as well, and you can manage it right off the, you know, with commits and everything like that, which is kind of cool. Yeah. Well, that's just all the past projects are archived. Yeah. So this is all my. I didn't put this current project because we don't have them nicely organized yet. So it's hard to put them in.
That's not.
I don't have something nice like this yet. We won't have it on Monday. It's too late.
If we're already going to go, or you like,
You have to be able to draw. You're working on one feature in your Arcos project, and you're working on a different feature for this project. That's okay, but you have to be branching or something.
So it's just pseudo make install or?
Okay. Yeah.
I just joined.
What project here?
Whole body.
Hey.
100.
Well, you plus 28, that's what I do. If you have an operating
Just saying.
I thought it'd be I just have a whole thing a little bit. Wait, how did you, what? So, get off the website? Yeah, just straight from the lab directions. Oh, no, I didn't even need that. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so it's project.
Well, we only have 3, so which one are we on?
Oh, for the projects?
Yeah, we figured it out. It's.
I know my project is ARAS and then like, so ARAS and then the 4 after that.
Yes. So it's ARAS, ARIS, article aggregator, after.iq, and abstract. I skipped over that because I wanted to make sure I got my stuff installed properly. I also didn't know we were So we have to.
What?
We have to all write down the information in our lab report, but like we can.
Go ahead, one.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 5.
That's why I said there's some overlap.
So we could all take one and whoever's done first.
No, that's not up.
We all have to have the information.
That's why I'm here.
But
I'll let you guys finish it yourselves.
yeah.
Ours, one of ours doesn't have to. It's just like.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you just write.
Does it normally work?
It's up to you. If it has something, you can either analyze it, or you can pick a different. Okay? Be more interesting to pick a different.
Mine broke earlier today and I just restarted the GSL. Usually you can control C and then you can just right click it.
You have to highlight.
Yeah, that's, so that was the problem I was talking about. Okay, so what I think is happening, I have to check the certificate. I was thinking, issuing the certificate, observatory.archives.
It goes.
It's conflicting with the certificate.
Question about.
Which you will be able to get.
Getting and sharing the information about
Because
the.
copy.
Well, we don't have a database library. Okay, that's what, right, so that's where I'm kind of fighting
It is highlighted.
that battle.
I'm saying you have to highlight it from the terminal.
One thing needed to get done, unfortunately.
Yeah, so yeah, from Windows to Windows.
Oh.
No, I think Leon can work on
I used to restart my WSL.
it. You want, I mean, yes, you want it, I want that and and help.
Well, it works on this one.
And you want it to do.
I'm saying control shift. I'm saying
Yeah,
works
so
on the-
those are the two things that are my favorite, what I thought you probably had
Saying
other
that it does usually work, my broker,
from other both sides.
that's what it's happening.
Okay,
You know,
because I use it.
but
Yes.
there were other things that
Collecting
needed
and
to be done.
sharing the information about the different archives.
But there were other things
Is
that
it
I
easier
should
for
have
us
but
to like create?
if not, then it's also
or like
very
a
fine to me.
Discord,
Correct these
like
problems
direct message
first.
between us, or what's the easiest way to start?
Or not, we can just migrate the data.
Make
But yeah, so that's,
Make a-
that's.
like a file under your
I don't know
GitHub,
if you saw that.
wherever we're gonna share it. Okay. And then you can make it like access to everything. Yeah.
I was just gonna put
That's
everything in the
not,
lab.
almost anybody.
I could do the first one, the ARS.
We'll have you, we'll have you.
It's like, well, to restart it, it's your power.
That's okay, I've been out of it since the semester started.
Mine was acting up earlier today and I was losing my mind.
Thought you both did.
Stuff
I've been downloading way too much shit.
Sure.
Okay, so let's divvy up these.
Wait, it doesn't say.
Yeah, yeah. You're welcome.
Says it can't make install.
You do sudo. I have to do sudo make install. Yeah. Because I have the same issue. I was not thinking that I could do sudo.
Okay, so.
Make command not found.
Are you in the Git Stats folder?
Yeah.
Sudo API install. I didn't have that.
Sudo apt install make.
Okay.
I've been downloading new things I don't understand.
I'm half tempted to like after I graduate, like put all my reports on my hard drive and just like what my computer.
No, because it works so well. There are so many areas.
And I don't know why it works. Yeah. Maybe I should, but I'm tempted to just because there's so many things I've installed right now.
I didn't. No, I put it on my desktop.
Which one?
Professor, in this lab, with the X11 Windows server thing, it'd probably just be good to link back to the server.
Yes.
Because Xming is.
Isn't that what I said?
You just said I was using Xming, and I was using the old one. Shoot it. It's like BCXRD is the other one. But also it's like
If you want to make a pull request, go ahead. Otherwise, I thought I typed, I thought I removed that and typed something else, but I didn't get distracted. And it appears that I thought I did it and didn't change. Yeah, that was what it was supposed to say, refer back to. In fact, I even verified that it was lab 1 and not lab 2. So,
yeah, I forgot I put it on.
I think that was the interrupt that got me not to type it in.
Can we split up these projects? So
Yeah, so do we have to,
You only, if you're a group of 4, you only have to do 4 projects.
Yes.
Okay,
Right.
so we'll do.
You each should,
I'll do the second.
you each should do 1.
How do I do?
Alright, so I'll do ARIS. You said you'll do ARIS, ARIS.
I'll
And then
do
there's
it.
article aggregators.
Yeah, I'll do that, yeah.
Okay. Article aggregators is
You mean-
Literate and Asteroid Q reports.
Okay. Oh, I'll do IRS.
Yeah, and the ARIS and the ARIS is very confusing.
Oh, actually, ARIS was actually created by Professor Brown.
Oh,
Or
really?
it's like Fish, the peer improver. So basically, it's a network.
Oh, that's really cool. Which one of them? Either article aggregator or Astro.IQ.
I will do your article.
Astro.IQ. Whichever. And
Well,
then,
that's also my
is it like one
people that
person?
wrote it, my background.
Oh.
See, that's what I was gonna
How
ask.
are we?
What's the part that says we
Okay, so.
All right, yeah, certainly, take pull request, let's take a look at it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna guarantee we'll use it this year.
Mine works. I ran things every.
Because I need to make sure that. But, guarantee that we will use it.
I haven't run it.
I will guarantee, yeah.
I got,
X11 as in one line, it's not.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that's not a bad idea. You should be able to introduce this application online and prepare some good tutorial.
Side note.
Oh, yeah. All of Python, one of the big ones is that the lead developer on Python, the network dictator for most, since its inception, retired a year or two ago. When they formally decommissioned Python 2, Python 3, and said, I'm done. I was keeping an eye on it. I was concerned that it would fall apart. Right? That's one of two things that happen. They engineered it, and somebody picks up the slack, or the group picks up the slack, or it just crashes and burns. Right?
I also already have.
Oh, perfect, okay.
Yeah.
I think we together.
Well, we did the group
And then nobody ever asked, okay.
Weather the storm.
that was a fun time.
Yeah.
That was really confusing.
I was so stressed out.
Yeah.
Discord is firm 886.
Auto.
You missed it.
Oh, what this is, yeah, it's okay.
I was going
Oh, there you go.
Just other stuff.
I know what I want to learn. I have no idea what projects would be useful. I'm saying, I'm literally, like, I'm here for the vibes of learning about open source. So I'm not really like hands-on, extended. I'm also graduating. I mean, I'm going to be somewhere, but still, like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be, hopefully I'll have that, so.
So when we generate the Git Stats,
Does anyone have any preference?
Yeah.
So,
Here, I'm just gonna paste for the lab instructions what's needed. In the class, because we can say like what.
I'll do your That's just my most recent.
wait, it's compare your results from the GitHub actually.
Yeah, so it's what we're doing right now, like looking at them,
Oh, okay.
like getting the information from the projects, and then they can compare it to something else.
It asks for.
Oh, yeah, I completely know that.
Okay. Wait, we just use it, yeah? I haven't read that part yet. I saw it, I saw the video.
if you go look at Okay, so for the parts that we're supposed to do individually and then combine together in the write-up, is that the entirety of part 2, or is it like?
Yeah, I think, isn't it? What is it?
It's very, I'm
Then
not
there's
sure. There's a lot, there's like.
Streaming contributions,
There's, yeah, there's
visualizations.
Oh, yeah.
It's like.
And I think,
Here, all 5 of them.
I mean, there are a few other things you can look at, like, Gorse is just really cool. So Gorse is just a visual depiction of the evolution of the repository. It gives a really cool video. At least I think it's really cool. And you can see people coming in and out as they make contributions and go. So, the main thing is analysis, and then you can use Git Stats to actually get your analysis. Right, Git Stats will give you a lot of information that you can use in analyzing projects, and then Gorse will give you a nice visual.
So basically, we have a project that we're doing, and but at the end, the person who have, they take all of the data from all of them.
Right, you guys should all share that. If you're going to do it smart, what you'll do is you'll have one person push that out to their lab report, and then you'll pull from it. You have to set up some remote pointers. So if you don't want to do it that way, then you can also just share the file and cut and paste.
Yeah.
It's all bad. Okay? Make sense?
Yeah.
So the, so for the course part, we don't actually have to upload any of that to like the laptop, right?
No, because that's gonna be like,
Yeah.
Video.
if you run it on a really big repository, that will be gigabytes.
Okay.
It
And
doesn't
then
change
the,
I made that mistake, by the way.
the part with Git Stats.
Yep.
Where we're getting, is that another thing where like we each run that with?
Yeah, run that on-
Project and then
Yeah.
bring all that data together?
Well, the Git Stats can be used as part of analyzing the project
Okay,
to get answers to some of your questions.
okay.
Okay, Gorse won't answer any questions except it's pretty.
So we're.
But Git Stats will actually generate a lot of your data for you.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Okay?
So when we're comparing the results from the, like, I'm confused with what, part 3,
Part 3.
where it says compare your results, like what, like where are we pulling these things to compare? Or sorry, it's like part, the, triple I underneath.
Triple I under 5. Oh, so if you go to GitHub and you ask for number of branches, you can get a lot of the information off of GitHub. The first commit, the latest commit. First commit is pretty easy, or the latest commit is pretty easy off of GitHub. Number of contributors is pretty easy off of GitHub. I don't know if it has lines of code or not. Current branches are easy off of GitHub. So you can get most of that data off of GitHub, and then you run Git Stats on it. You're actually going to get slightly different answers.
What?
Yeah, I don't know why. But that's all it's asking you to do is take a look at that and see, and notice what's going on. Not for all of it, just for something like the number of branches, I think will be the same.
Is there an easier way to get the first commit other than scrolling all the way through the commits?
You can use, if you clone it, you can use the log command.
Oh, okay, I see.
Alright.
Yeah, so like, I just didn't know where it is. We're class.
For the first commit and the latest commit part, are we just putting the dates of those commits?
Give me the shot.
Okay.
Shot. The date and the shot. Yeah.
I understand. I wish I was a Google Maker. I just showed them the space. Currently, as it is, I'm double stacking all of my ideas classes so I can finish the minor in one grade. It's interesting.
How many characters?
Just 16. It's just I took 2 classes last semester that weren't. It doesn't even matter because it's possible just because I'm a certain amount of freshman. So when I take intro to AWS and then the course that comes after it, which is what's it doesn't matter. Both are super easy. Actually, what is easier than my brain rot. All 4 classes have large final projects, so it's like a lot to have a bunch of new projects all the time.
Find like the number of users. Like, from the
So you should be able to do it, I think Git Stats will give you that, but if you want to do it from the Git, you should look at it from the GitHub repository as well. If you go to, let's see, users you can't get, contributors you can get.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you want to look for contributors, you can come in over there, and you can go back to settings. I'm sorry, insights, sorry. And contributors.
Okay, but that like.
Let me see.
There's 21 to,
Okay, so I want to.
If there's only one.
Is it possible that there's only one contributor?
sorry?
Is it possible that there's only one contributor? Yeah, that mine only has one contributor. That's
Yeah.
like possible.
A lot, in fact, like 90% of all open source projects have one or have less than 5 contributors, something like, I gotta look the stats up again, but it's something like 90% of them have less than 5, so.
That would make sense.
Yeah. It's easy to start an open source repository or an open source project. It's much harder to get other people interested enough to take it forward, yeah.
Okay. I'm just about done. Wow. I'm not even
Well, the Git Stats was in my package manager, so I just did, package manager and installed Git Stats. And then I just did
Maybe you know that.
Because like everybody else is.
We're probably gonna format this whole different.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of just did like a section for like arrows, just did manual, Git Stats, and just kind of did the whole.
Okay, so that's supposed to refer you back to that one. Right, so there's a visual,
Git log.
that should work too, it works for me as well.
No, but, oh, and then.
Otherwise, you have to scroll first.
Okay.
I mean, depends on how many units there are. There's like 20.
Not exactly sure what's specific.
Git log. Yeah.
You have, if you, is this the Ubuntu terminal?
Git log, and then do page down.
I type in, XI.
Git space. And then do page down. Page down. This page goes down.
Well, no, that's, that means you haven't installed XI. Install that stuff. XI is a really good way to check for your.
I haven't done Git Stats on this yet, but I will on the second.
I mean, I guess
You know, you just installed a couple of these utilities.
I just copy paste on Saturday, but that's the first issue. I'll ignore that because that's.
Are you running
The
your?
created remain.
Okay, well, that may be a problem. But we'll check it out with XI.
Yeah. Oh, wait, that one's you. It's just a
Aspiration.
I guess I should.
When you run it inside the both project directories, then you also need the tab. So that would be URL. Or.
Yeah.
What actually was it?
I'm just worried about the outcomes.
Well, actually, that's
What was the, like what actually was the commit?
Yeah,
oh, initial, that's the.
just making sure. Yeah, no,
Oh,
that's,
it was just an empty.
yeah, if they're done, then I can be. I know, and the shop key would be good. Yeah, that's unique identifier, but you know, that's not a big.
Okay. How do I get out of this?
Just Q.
There's no standardized.
You could also.
One more. Which one was Is that included now? Then I'll do XI. Yeah, okay, so you should be all set. Okay, so now we have to run Git Scan. Okay, so now I do ls net directory. Dot slash instance. Just do space. Okay, so that's there and it's available. Yeah, if you do, there's two more arguments you can give it. The second one is the repository you want to analyze. And the last one is where you want to put the results.
Okay.
So make it correct. It should be correct. Okay. Yes.
I'm trying to figure out how to run Git Stats. I have it installed, I think.
Yeah, what does it say?
So, okay, and then are we running it inside the Git Stats thing that I did the directory for that? Or am I running it in the? Yeah, but you might. Okay, so like, so this would be the path I can. Oh, yeah, he's need, but I'm also running it inside of it. That's what I'm trying to figure out, is like where to run it, and it's carrot.
Oh, so you need a square, oh, wait, carrot.
So like I will assign the, yeah.
I see.
Inside the directory, do you know what Git project that I want?
Yeah, so, so you have Git Stats. So,
Just go.
yeah, CD to the repository, actually, if you go.
So I should go back on there, that's what I have to.
We can copy and paste.
No, I'm just gonna copy and paste. So the,
Oh, yeah, slash MNT.
Oh, that is.
I know there's a command for CD and that's where you ask for.
You know, I
Wait, your base, your.
did it be right?
I'll go back up to that. So just type Git Stats.
Interesting.
Let me see what I'm writing.
One word?
Yeah, Git Stats one word, and it is. So, yeah, Git Stats, and then just, dot, and then, just, wait, actually, first I would make a directory. So I'd go CD dot, and then I just make a directory, like just a temp or something.
Okay.
And then you can do Git Stats, and then repository name, whatever the folder is. And then space. Or actually, don't do dot. The dot means the current directory. You don't want to tell it to get it. Oh, okay. I can use this one.
This.
So, let me see.
We also.
Yeah, super cool.
You know what that doesn't work. I didn't try that back.
Sure.
I thought that was fixed.
Keyboard's a little bit. Mine's input.
Yes. Okay.
I got plugged on accidentally.
That's like nominally. Just pick one.
I see. Wait, oh, I install.
I guess I'll do it.
Nope. Wait.
Oh,
Okay.
Professor Turner. I made a pull request. I made the change and made a pull request. I did not make an issue, but it's like one lane, so.
You would get credit for two things, the issue and the pull request. You would get credit for two contributions if you did the issue and the pull request. Since you just did the pull request. That's okay. Did you change my typo too?
I did.
Okay.
I can make the issue now.
I'm not, that's too late now.
Points for making.
Part of our open source contributions are things you contribute to an open source project. This class is open source. So if you find my errors and make an issue and correct them, you get credit.
How much credit?
Not a lot. I mean, it depends on how big. If you rewrite an entire module like Jeremy's trying to do, you would get a lot of credit. If you make a one-line change, you get a little credit, but it adds up.
I did make an entire
I know, that was a different one.
Yeah.
That one counts too. Yes? Can you correct it?
That's what I was doing.
I mean, but is it a, what? If you can correct it, then you can get credit for it. I made the mistake of telling one of my classes a few years ago that if they got anything into the Linux kernel, I'd give them an A. And somebody got 2 minor typos in the Linux kernel. But if you make a substantive code contribution to the Linux kernel, that will count. I'll still do that. But
What did you say?
Now you
Oh my god. So, but then again, I'm
Maybe it's a pass. Maybe it's something that
go ahead and edit your Git Stats file. When we get,
where was that?
right where you are, just Git Stats.
Oh.
When I did last time.
Oh, this.
Yeah, edit.
Oh, I did.
It's coming up like that too, and I don't want to make it.
I wanted just 2 return
I think that's like that.
I could just do pseudo instead.
Didn't I just install Git Stats?
No, you just did it manually. You could have just done it automatically.
Yeah, but don't I already have it installed, so we'll plug it up?
No, this will actually install it properly. The package manager is what you want to do. Let's just see if it works now. It's not easy to get rid of. It's just like you just did it manually.
So how to.
There's some way to convert it, I can just forget that.
Okay, where's the directory?
You can access those files.
CD.
No, I just did.
I think Visual Studio Code has like an option to like convert everything. I just don't remember where.
Git Stats. Let's see if there's a pseudo name.
File. Go on. Let's see.
No, they didn't agree.
Yeah, that's all. I really just resized it. It's
Oh, well, I got
online, yeah.
like that.
And so if you are
You guys are
When I try to do it in the browser, when I try to do it in the command it's just
Okay, yeah, that looks like it.
And now I guess what we want to
Yeah,
do.
but we also try to browser, so that's like
That doesn't work, it's like copy paste the whole thing.
I like
problem study.
Okay.
So.
my dad like is scared to open them, but like I told him like, open it, I don't care.
Aren't you really good stats?
Okay, so basically,
I know you're
is,
oh, it doesn't matter.
this is for Firefox, but basically you find these things that for whatever browser you use, and then you put this on,
Oh, is that
my
another?
preference is definitely into Linux, so what do, and then basically the browser environment variable is like what browser do I try to open. So when you run it, it looks for browser and then it sees like, oh, it looks like, oh my god. Yeah. That's really bad.
I didn't think he knew he was it was just like
The easiest way is just find it and find the path to the browser on Windows and then take the file path.
well I have some
You have to connect a couple of backslashes to forward slashes.
Oh, so you're
Yeah, when you add slash and then slash on that one.
I would,
What are you do about it?
yeah, my mom literally has this like I see
let's just see if it's
away.
Well, there's other solutions.
maybe it just needs to be. I mean, I doubt it. Well, how about this?
No.
There's always one. Come on, I. This is.
Yeah, so like for your, that's everything that you
Well, make sure that they have
Yeah, just send everything, just like put everything on like, I guess put everything in the policy or your
Yeah, that you probably not gonna be able to cut and paste.
As long as you.
Although you probably can't edit it.
As long as you include all
You can go in there and edit it, just grab it from the file. Yeah. Or cut and paste it or something, yeah. Screenshot. Okay?
I get stats, it's like,
Yeah, well, you know, these goals.
It should, oh, it does something. Whoa.
Yeah, 'cause you might go through or it's like
It
a.
produced a folder. I thought it would be a file.
That might be just a better way to do it. I even didn't think about that.
Yeah, it was like, oh my god. I don't know why it didn't work, but I was like, I typed this thing in the browser, and I was like, oh, it's in my file. So let me update my.
We did RMRF, both the install, the make install, like we
Is
did
it better
make
if I
dash
send a
and
screenshot
install,
or just
steps
copy
of
it?
the RMRF of the Git Stats. And then we did sudo app install, and it's still the same.
I don't know.
Is it just like a single screenshot?
The total lines of code is just really interesting. It's like,
I'm gonna.
Okay, so.
I think we can do it either way. It just meant
I have some
Yeah, you can do it fine, otherwise you'll be able to actually. This messed up.
Is that on the lab?
No.
Yeah, you always gotta put the yet up.
No, see, I like window. I want to take a screenshot because I like the way it sounds.
Yeah.
Oh, and paste that.
I never liked cucumbers, but I know just say.
Have you ever
Not a
tried?
lot, by the way. I'm still not a big fan.
Have you ever tried?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, we pickled them with hot vinegar. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did it with like salt and
Yeah.
rice vinegar.
Yep. Yeah. Slice it thin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep. I like it. It's just the regular cucumber thing. That's just not my
Yeah,
favorite.
cooked it was like right in the middle.
Yep. My family bought me a crock for my birthday. Right? And then every time now I try to make pickles or sauerkraut or something in the crock that they bought me, they complain about the smell. Is that fair?
No, it's not fair.
Thank you. That's what I thought.
No, it's WSL. Have any of you gotten your?
You were, I wasn't sure whether you were stretching or asking.
That's okay.
I will definitely get there today, so
You're
you
fine.
guys can be done.
Yeah, let's do
I
that.
think I'd like to keep, some things private.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But they put it in that.
Oh, yeah.
It depends on how you're.
I mean, my password, if I told you, will be like, what is that say? I mean, I do it speaking extended.
It's computer science teacher in high school, she's like, the best password, full of because everyone's prepared that.
It works now.
Like, you come up with something, and
Why are we also 32?
I don't know, that's just where it auto boots to.
No, this blade, that's
Wait, there's something fishy.
Dude, mine's really fucked up.
I know what it is. Data structure thing might be like so.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think it's
So it's WSL1.
No, I just changed it. Oh, you're saying you made it now?
Oh, you can do that.
Yeah.
Wait, why am I don't even look at DD. Probably have a lot of
Yeah, I didn't.
Astra, there you go. Oh, actually, I can use it. Git Stats. It works now. Is it working? I fixed it. Nice.
I don't know what the fuck happened, but ever since Dave's been.
issue? So I just had to remove Git Stats, close the thing, reopen it so that it reinitialized. There's some like thing else messed up that is fixed now.
Like,
You have to do this like 5 years.
like for me, it's
I'm pretty sure whatever I did with the structure, she kind of.
Oh, yeah, she now, whenever she opens it up, it always.
oh, I had that happen in the past. Like, if
I just see
If I gave your voucher a C or something.
Oh, okay, I don't know what that's. Great.
I could fix it for you.
I'm a little concerned. Yeah, that would be nice after this.
I thought it was done.
I was telling you that and well, I will say, WSL is still better from nice time. Oh, it's so different. Oh, wow. And I'm like, is that right? Did I? So.
What did you have us do with data structures?
When I was in data structures, I didn't know what was going on. So this is, when they go in, when I was right now, I said, okay, it's like, get
Yeah.
that's what I got from Cal. This is what I got. Is it supposed to be this? What's it called? Oh, it's all of the files?
Oh,
I mean, I'm
just
gonna obviously.
I would put the 2 9
Okay. Put them open. I was gonna say, I'll put them both in and I'm gonna take a photo.
Is that the,
It's like a triple back quote.
the client, do you need to run?
Yes,
Yeah, that counts all of them.
okay.
Okay, I expect that, yeah, I expect that Git Stats is trying to count just lines of code.
And then,
Just like
and then just surround it.
So it's fine that it's not the same.
Oh, that should be.
If you want us to compare these things.
Exactly, that was the
I was
whole
just,
idea.
when you said it would be a little different, I expected.
I did not expect it to be that.
That is quite the
It's
difference.
like almost, it was almost 300.
Yeah. Oh, you know, but the line I gave you will just count any line.
Okay, well, I did the line you gave me, and I was like,
So for the commits, it was the short diagram.
yeah, I gave them.
That's what you gave, is that what, is that like?
It said, yeah.
Good, cool.
Got it.
Have a problem or,
That was the end.
Restart the.
From the.
cool, yeah, so you reread the bash file, bash RC. Cool.
Can someone put them all in one big file?
What?
Is someone putting them all in one file?
I'm just putting mine in these.
Yeah, I'm putting them right in my report.
I'm just gonna upload mine. Yeah, that's what.
As long as we all have it like for somewhere.
Yeah, I'm posting, I said I'm gonna post mine in Discord, and can someone just add it? And send me the link?
How about we all just copy and paste like that set? Oh, are we just, the thing is, we should copy and paste our margin for like writing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Oh, alright, I was saying, so are we getting both the manual and the automatic for all of us?
Yeah,
Like both the manual and.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, just,
Yes, we
go
should.
through the whole bit. Obviously, we're not uploading the videos because that's too much, because none of us have.
Wait, there's videos.
One. Well, I mean, like, you don't have to, well, we're not, anyway, it's not that
Mine may not be formatted the way you guys do, so I have to do a little bit of.
Oh, well, mine's also gonna definitely be formatted, but.
Yeah.
All of this, you just need the first, like, the short, ID.
Yeah,
So these are more ID.
yeah.
That's my, then if you copy and paste that, so.
Yeah, for the first and the last commit, you just need like the first 6 of the commit hash,
And then the video.
that's it. You don't need
Oh,
to.
well, I just included it all. I mean, it can't hurt, right?
I will send my Git Stats
Can't
as
hurt.
an excellent.
Okay, mine's all like down.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, mine's all.
Oh, Ariana, you did all different comments, so I can't just copy and paste the entire block.
Wait, do you have the lines of code from, like,
Git
not
Stats?
from Git Stats, just from doing the line that,
Yeah.
like this, the line of code that you're supposed to run, like.
What?
Yeah, you did.
Look at.
This is a short project.
I reviewed your pull request, I made a comment.
Part 2, number 4, where it says
Yeah,
your
it says,
project will look like
maybe
maybe
go
for.
up.
Not because.
Yes.
Collaboration is just.
Yeah, I guess
You
I
have
just
the-
noticed,
the
I'm
number
guessing it's
code.
somewhere.
Line-
No, I'll do that right now, and I'll edit it. Or do you want me to just?
You can just edit the number for it, so.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do.
That's totally fine.
Answers to these questions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, you know, and there was no reason why you needed to, but we may as well walk through the entire process. That was not your error, but that's.
I thought you were correcting something that I did.
You know, if, you know, I could, but it's pretty good.
I don't know, it's relatively fine, I didn't.
Yeah, no, I would have pulled it in, but there is another typo, so let's get that in, let's get that fixed.
I'm gonna send my Git Stats as text, so I'll figure out the ones that format. So. You're putting on the readme, right?
I'm putting mine in just, I can put them all in. Yeah, I'll do that, I'll put them all in, but I gotta still do mine. I was just starting by putting it in everything, so I.
Is one of you guys gonna just copy and paste the readme?
I mean, I'm also fine just putting this all in my just like.
Well, we all are, yeah.
I mean, like, I'm formatting it like.
Okay. Whoever gets to it first, and after that.
I wasn't gonna do it.
Whoever gets to it
I was just gonna like copy it from the Discord.
Yeah. I think one person will stick it all together and upload it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just try to look.
I understand that it's easier.
All right.
We need all of them.
Yeah.
Okay, mine are all fixed. So, should be good now.
Okay, so the short, it's just the first six.
I've got it.
The short version is the first six of the full.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that all we have?
The other thing I realized is that you need to have the.
Sure.
Git Stats.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then me, I is
Yeah, put in your market in Git Stats. You see that?
and then just do /git slash.
Did you put in the parentheses or really weird stuff? Because I, for some reason, is getting some weird.
Put a dash in there. Oh yeah, no.
There should be a temporary dash.
Yeah, it's not,
Message come in from
I'll just wait and see.
I didn't.
All right, got it.
I'm just gonna do this.
Oh, okay, this was an error, somebody else was on that.
No, I think I've got that. Thank you very much.
Okay, so the reason is that, file endings thing, because Windows uses different file endings for Linux, so probably what happens is that it's Can you just run this Linux to see if that is installed? Just set those two. Just see if it exists. Okay, yep, so when you install that, you just need to run those to Unix
So,
Git Stats.
Who did Asteroid Q? Sorry.
Yeah, DOS to Unix.
What did you do? Yeah, could you just
No,
clarify what's the I'm kind of confused. It's master and there's one called like renovate / configure. Is that one? Yeah. Okay, so it's just master and just yeah. Okay. Understood. I got okay. I looked at the like the message from the commit and I was like, what does that mean? That's a branch? I just can't read. No, it looks like I was like really confused because I didn't read today, like honestly.
You only didn't like Visual Studio Code or something like that.
Okay.
Okay, I'll be right back.
I haven't seen course cycle before, so.
Oh, yeah, I haven't seen that either. Well, it's actually the first 7.
Oh, is it? Okay.
31 gigabytes. They just got 30 gigabytes now.
Yeah, generally it's good to
Mine scale 3 made it 30 gigabyte file.
Okay, who's just crashed?
Sorry, right there with the.
Yeah, okay. So
I don't think you guys did the commit. This one, the other one, this isn't the bottom.
This is why you're
I think you guys very trying on this project has tried it, but this
Yeah.
is like.
That's what's so nice. See it out. Because I'm sure it's a video, so if you return.
Yeah.
Try saving this.
Oh, lower the
Start
range.
dates,
I think
can't
the
stop
carrot,
it.
you have to have.
Oh, do yeah, do that for the past hours.
Do like.
Yeah, I know you guys have been long still.
And let's try running Git Stats again.
It
does not. So, Control likes that. And then I guess save that. Control V. Save it again. This is some little match.
Actually, export the image.
Oh, I have it.
Just check if it's possible. Let me check. This was something.
Yeah, I'll feel like.
Oh, C dot / C dot.
There's something I was like, damn. Everything's different.
Okay, yeah, we'll do it like this. Okay, so go to Note, open it in Notepad++.
Okay, skill 4 is, no, skill 4 is not. And do small.
Right.
Sorry.
So you already have it. Check
This, and you guys.
Showing the blind, that's what we want.
you guys have access to the like this printout for Git Stats.
It's changed, but.
Because I like the way it looks and it formats. So I was gonna put the screenshot in mine, but I wanted to
Here's
use
the central
formatting. But
Yeah,
if
and then we're just gonna replace every single one.
You want us to just take a picture of that instead?
yeah, like it's for me at least because I like to think it's pretty. And it's like it's all
Did you guys
the
finish part two, like with having all of ours together?
I'm getting. Show me pictures of the Git Stats. So if you don't mind, I would appreciate that.
Hey, you're putting it together, like you can have whatever you want.
I just think it's so like nice and concise.
Save that.
Well, I mean, do you want a picture that looks like this?
Why is yours not?
What?
So I think what's happening is that maybe
Medium
it's
long.
You're definitely bought
so like yeah.
If it really is style.
What's it called? Why can't it just be called Scratch?
So just close this and then I'm getting this all again. It's like you replaced everything right now, so like you should.
Okay. Peter? When you get we have the same /R problem. This one over here.
Oh, yeah. How did you solve it the first time?
We use DOS to Unix.
So we did that, we're doing that over here, but it's not working, that's why I'm trying to figure out.
If it's, you may have to install Python too.
Okay.
Right,
You don't
DOS
have
to
Python to
Unix.
install? Let's
Wherever you
Python
install
too.
Git Stats, put that directly.
Okay, exit.
I mean, are you on your?
Okay, this is very unusual, we tried literally everything.
Sounds like there's lots of issues here.
Or is it you meant?
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
That's the only thing we have to do is put the dot, right? For the partition.
This stuff also bothers me a lot. We probably want to put it on
I mean, still, it's better for continuity. Yeah.
It's good that we at least know it's the one character. Because it seems like they're all LFs.
Did you try installing it?
The problem is literally with
five. We don't return like a lot of business files, so.
But it's still generates.
Yeah, I tried in the default Firefox.
You don't have to upload the full 20.
Alright.
Here, look, it says they converted.
Do you mind just trying to reinstall these stats? Yeah, just, yeah, or there's probably some kind of command that.
Why?
Yeah, and then just try pulling it again.
Sorry, I didn't know why I was trying to get out this. Do you want me to take an ugly screenshot?
Sure.
Use like this text. Or I mean,
You could just zip it and upload it. It's like so much more.
okay.
Four.
You know where it's all.
Yeah.
It would be wherever you ran, make install, wherever you ran.
You can make them small.
Here.
When I share on Discord, it only shows direct messages. So what's Who's the direct messaging? What's your direct message?
Me, I'm slightly sarcastic.
Oh, it's just, it's there. Right, main character, shared it.
Okay, that is there. It's like your Git Stats.
It looks like that on mine too.
Yeah, maybe I just have a different version.
That's so sad. That's pretty funny. That's okay.
Yeah, just take one more look. Just take one more look at it. 30 seconds. Alright.
Okay, so that's my stuff.
There's just a Latex install.
It doesn't look pretty.
I guess.
Yeah, this is also, it looks pretty on your It's not on mine.
That's very good.
Oh, it looks fine on mine.
What? Okay, can you send me that screenshot?
Are we gonna do stream?
We're not gonna upload it.
I'm working on the crash right now. All right, if you're having a /R problem, why don't you gather around Peter Lee over there?
Yeah, I think because like we're working with someone right now.
Yeah.
Like.
But it's basically, if you,
Alright, yeah, so if you have a /R problem, come to the center. We're all trying to work on that right now. I hate to say I don't know, but like I actually don't know because I've tried Visual Studio Code, I've tried to have documents.
Are we doing it with that?
It's right now, but I'm just thinking about that. So basically, running Git Stats, it might say a /R that's been on an error message, so it's like a bad character type thing. You can fix that for but what's weird is that it's not doing it on them. And I tried making both Visual Studio Code and Pathfinder to try to replace the file endings, and for some reason, even though the file endings are replaced, it still thinks they're there, so I don't know. But I'll come back very Alright, so
Oh, yeah. I think it. Yeah, no, it says upload that way. I'm gonna try. But I think
I'll do it on my own. I mean, like, and work with like a time and then you do it. I tried to get it fixed. I went to the thing and I was like, can you just replace my trackpad? And they were like, it technically works. So you'd have to pay for it yourself. And I was like, okay.
Well, you could find a way to
So break it?
break it without like, I mean, it just doesn't work. I don't know what happened.
Wait,
I have gotten like my entire routine replaced before, except for trackpad.
Oh.
This? Police. But this is a four. I made H4 That's what Yes. No, I got the latex part. It's the math part that's confusing.
That's why if this doesn't work, yeah, kill it.
This one?
That's it.
Do you want, this one would be one big matrix. Okay. Would it be helpful to make them like and then okay. No, I just turned it off.
Oh, is it like some hours?
It's just a little bit, but
I always.
it always takes a second to like look at something and come back on YouTube.
Yeah, I don't like it when I have a power button that's not power, it sleeps. So I always keep it on power.
Yeah.
Someone tried to like do messing with me one time, and like how to sleep. And I was like in the middle of something, and I'm like, actually, you just turned my computer completely off. They were like, it felt really bad, and I was just laughing. It's like, I have a Latex. Of course, figure out a video yourself because errors one time years out of
Git Stats.
Okay.
If you upload it for your desktop,
All right. It's gonna take me more. Stop doing that. All right, if you're having problems with Gore seg faulting, I don't have a solution for that. I don't know why. I tried installing it from source here, and I run into a unable to install SDL2 development. Okay, so I will take a look at that. Don't worry about that part for your project. But take a look at the old. We posted some old videos to YouTube.
Okay.
Video common libraries.
So actually, I'm not sure how we want to.
There's all sorts of.
Okay, so what you did was you installed Gore when you said to install it, and then install the video in video.
Oh, this was.
Could you post that to the, I don't know, someplace. Put it in the chat for the, or post it to, draw it up on the chalkboard.
It's not like.
I'm not sure what's going on.
for part one,
We will
for
get
the
you.
Latex
If
stuff, are we just?
you don't get Gore installed, we're not going to penalize you for it. But it's cool. Look at the videos that are linked at the bottom of the page. There what you would get something that looks like that.
Like that.
This is more fun when it works. It works on my machine. I don't know what's wrong with you people.
I think you have to leave it and type out.
Yeah, so, I did it and then deleted that.
No.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Well,
It's really easy. I don't know why you guys have problems.
What? Yeah, so I sent the markdown that I combined all of the first part of our information in the Discord, and then I didn't do anything for it, just because like, I was up to you guys, I guess, if you want to copy paste the screenshots or whatnot. Yeah, that's fair. But that's the table that I made. The images are all in the Discord. I figured you could just copy paste this format like how you want, but what am I? The table that I sent you looks like this, and it has all of our information as contact. That's what I sent.
Yeah, and then we can just do literally the like,
Yeah,
the same.
I figured, yeah. however you want to focus on.
Yeah, that's fine.
I
Thank
think
you.
that cable, so.
Thanks.
That's your pointer.
Tells me that neither of these are the instances I
This is what the gorse, if you're having problems, this is what the gorse should look like. Maybe if it comes through. And again, it's not supposed to look like that. It's supposed to have nice, pretty pictures. It looks like it's just taking a while. Anyway, it's about, we've got about 5 minutes. There we go. This is what it should look like. This is the class repository. So you can see things exploded when somebody did split some libraries out. And as things drift off, they kind of fade out. Yeah, so this is just showing all the links. Like the center link is the main project, the rest are the directories underneath it, and the changes that are coming in, what's being modified. It's a nice, interesting way to visualize your repository. I don't know that there's any informational content really in it at all. At least, you know, you can. Yeah.
I mean, it's gorgeous.
No, it's gorgeous. Yeah. You know, so this is what we're trying to get you to be able to run. If you don't get that running, that is okay. It's always a stretch goal. Wait till we try to do TensorFlow and Docker. You think you had problems today? Yes.
So this is only used for the second one, right? We don't actually.
Yeah. Yeah, just the last one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then for the part 2, all we have to do is put the Git Stats and the picture and the non-Git Stats one, and then like write some analysis.
All right, guys. Again, we've got about 5 minutes. I think there's a class in here after us, so I'm going to start. What's fun for me is I see all people that I've worked with before over the course since. Yeah, these are all, you know, like he worked on Venue for a while with me. Morthy was here before me. That's one of his TAs. Fansa coming in. Anyway,
That's what I'm thinking of.
Oh, yeah, I did the wiki already.
I'm Carter. You're Carter on Discord. Yeah.
Here we go.
Arden, A-R-D-E-N.
Alright. Do you want to know how to fix it? Alright. So they still have the same issue.
Oh, you know what?
It's actually we've been trying to catch them right at the installation. So now what we want to do okay, yeah, I'm just gonna have to do this one. Let's see.
So many
file. No.
Out of here.
It's like
DOS.
yeah.
No, you, well, I should actually.
There you go. I don't know why.
Yeah.
That's okay, but like just In the future,
If you post those, we will try to fix it.
whatever thing you just
But there's an infinity of computers, and of course, hasn't been changed since 4 years, I think.
So we need to take some screenshots.
What?
We need to take some screenshots of work for that.
Yeah, if you have it, or show me the error if it didn't.
But you don't. But yeah, if you already
Go ahead.
have answers, you don't have to.
So if we can't get it to work,
Yeah.
Curious.
You won't get, you'll get 1 out of 8 points on your, or 1 out of 10 points on your lab, but you know, show us the error. So don't over, give us the error, we won't keep much. Okay.
The issue was that we were using .ca on Prospect Pulse, not where Git Stats
Oh,
was actually installed too.
Yeah, you have to do make install.
Yeah. No. You have to do which. I did it which Git Stats. Actually, I found the installation. Otherwise, they were doing it on the Git Stats.
Right, but if they did that, then they install it.
Yeah.
It should work, I'm not saying it did work.
we still have to do it on the one, doing it on 504.
Yep.
I don't know what your view on that is, as they're definitely not open. When you do a Google collab, it just installs.